Hello and welcome to FinextraTV. I'm Hannah Wallace and we're here at the Temenos Community Forum 2025 in Madrid. Kindly joining me in the studio away from the busy event is Monty Bhatia from Temenos and Sudip Lahiri from HCLTech. Hello gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's really good to have you on, and we're going to be talking a lot about your partnership with one another. But first, I want to begin the interview by looking at those key factors that are encouraging banks today to move away from the traditional core systems towards a more modern, agile architecture. So Sudip, we'll start with you. Could you set the scene for us?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's a pleasure being here in the FinextraTV, and thank you again for inviting us. Look, I think the banking world is changing in a big way. The banking is no longer today about transactions, it's about relationships. So the 4 or 5 things which are super important, which is I think driving the change. The first is the entire domain of experience, because the customers, they want hyper personalized offering, very contextual for their need. And that needs a completely different sort of operating model as well as technology platform. I think that is what is driving a lot of this change. The second thing is, of course, the whole compliance and the regulatory aspects becoming super important. The banks need to have an approach and the operating model to adapt faster and respond to the regulator much faster. The third thing is this whole aspects of security and vulnerability. You see the banks are more vulnerable. There are ransomwares more frequently than it used to be. So you need an architecture, you need an operating model, delivery approach where you are able to be proactive and not just reactive. And last but not least is the whole data. I think we are in the world of AI. Data is going to play a very important role. So banks need to have very solid, robust data foundation. They should be able to fully utilize the power of analytics. Now, all these things putting together, the bank need to move away from traditional operating model and delivery model to more agile, open architecture, modular approach, adaptable. So the time to market, adaptability, modularity are super important. So in my view, those are all driving the change which we see today. And that's why the banks do need to think of more agile way of delivering solutions as opposed to traditional approach.
Yeah, and don't forget about the advent of AI and Gen AI and how that is shaping up what banks are doing now, right? And so I know you talked about data, but at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
Agentic AI and Gen AI and AI is going to change how we, not only interact with the bank, but how we interact with ourselves in daily life as well.
I think the AI is going to be the cornerstone of the delivery of solutions. I think the organizations do need to think of how to deliver hyper-personalized service, not just traditional channels like web or mobile, but also chats, how to deliver a seamless omni-channel experience. And AI is going to play a super important role. So it's going to be a cornerstone of what banks need to do in the future.
It's very exciting, this space, and we'll come to AI a little bit more in a moment. But I also want to touch on the value of partnerships when we're talking about that transition from core systems to agile architectures. What's the value of partnerships in helping make that transition more effectively? Monty?
Yeah, so I always say this, and this is something I should trademark probably. I say partnership is not just a strategy, it's a mindset, right? And Sudip talked about all the different drivers that are driving behaviors of how banks are operating. As an independent software vendor, Temenos can't do it on our own. And that's the kind of partnerships we need to start building. And that's why we're trying to build this thing with our partners like HCLTech. They bring industry expertise. We have the software package. We have the best technology in the market. They bring the skills. They bring the scale. They bring the AI capabilities, for example, right? They have the operational excellence of delivering what we are trying to do from a technology perspective. And that's where the partnership really works, right? It's not just about let's shake hands and go to this customer together. It's about how can we build product together that is going to solve a complex customer problem. And that's where the partnership really means a lot to us.
Mm-hmm. And you already touched on some of the challenges around implementing AI before, but maybe you can highlight what those challenges are and why the right approach to implementing AI is so important.
I think there are 3 or 4 building blocks where the banks are struggling and need to look at in a very strategic way to address it. So one is the entire data space. The data is not just about technology, it's also about governance. It's also about putting the right governance structure, data stewardship, and so on and so forth. At the same time, also addressing the quality issues of the data, and also bringing the right data platform and move to more data as a product sort of a concept. I think the banks need to look at that aspect more seriously, and that is the first challenge which we notice when we walk into any AI program. The second aspect is, lot of organizations do struggle with, especially bank, to define the right business outcome they want to achieve through AI. So while they have great ideas, but how do you define the outcome? So you do want to invest, you do want to bring in technology, but how do you measure the success of that? I think that is where I see quite a lot of challenge, and we at HCLTech, we play a very important role in helping banks to define those metrics in a proper way. At HCLTech, we have decided that we will invest in 4 building blocks, which is AI Foundry, to help banks to have the right foundation and the data, AI Force, to have the right platform and solution for service transformation, AI Labs, so business, IT, partner can come together and deliver those POCs and show that the ROI can be achieved. And AI Engineering is more to work for the technology and the chip manufacturer like NVIDIA and so on to sort of develop the next gen high performing chips. So we bring all these things together and try to help organizations to adopt AI faster and better.
So to summarize, then, could you highlight the value of the partnership between Temenos and HCLTech in meeting those new customer demands and the evolving technology we're seeing across the market?
Yeah, so let me take that on. And the value of partnership is far beyond just the partnership itself, right? I think Will Maroney, who's our Chief Revenue Officer, he talked on the stage today that we have 750 delivery people within Temenos. We have 8,000 delivery people in our partners. Mm-hmm. And the way we're going to treat them is we're one team. We're going to call them as 8,750 delivery people we have. And that is what we need to, that's the message that we need to give out. That when we are talking about partnership, it's not about solving a problem, it's getting a customer outcome. And so when we work with HCL, we're working in how do we, from a delivery standpoint, how do we improve our delivery mechanism? Leverage the scale of HCL or partner to deliver our solutions at scale.
Just to add what Monty said, for HCLTech, the partnership is 360-degree approach. So it's not just, a sort of getting together for the market, but also working together to develop and deliver next-gen solutions. Mm-hmm. So it also means that we have invested to set up Center of Excellence, where we'll be developing and already delivering a lot of framework and solutions and leveraging GenAI and our own AI Force, which is our intellectual property, to deliver next-gen solutions. So we will be covering not just partnerships for the market, but also working with Temenos to develop and deliver next-gen solutions.
Co-innovation, co-engineering, co-delivery, all of it.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, watch this space. Monty, Sudip, thank you so much for your time. I'll let you get back to the busy event, but it's been a pleasure.
Thank
Same
you very
here.
much. Anand.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.